motherfucker just buy everything trying to satisfy her. On the low, she fucking his partners. Feel a void inside her, cause she wasn't fucking with a rider. She don't want a man, she just want fuck. She don't want a man, she just want fuck. She don't want a man, she just want fuck. He tell her balance the checkbook, I tell her roll the weed up. She don't want a man, she just want fuck. He tell her to drop the kids off, I tell her pick my homies up. She don't want a man, she just want fuck. Hey, from talking it out to the parking lot, from the parking lot to my safe house. Tommy said it, spitter ain't dreaded. This new jet city, most bitches ain't ready. But shorty ain't tripping, she was living already. My fuck game impressive, so she come back steady. The shit wide heavy, I could carry it. Can't get too far, I mean this is a married bitch. She roll doobies as I paddle shift. We fuck, watch movies, end up getting too groovy, and then we smash again. She talking about him, how she feel bad, by feeling so good, by giving me the ass, by how if she could, she'd tell a nigga everything to get it off her chest, but she don't want to see him mad. Collecting the underwear from the rooms of my pad. She got dressed and left in a flash, but she said she'd be back. She don't want a man, she just want fuck. She don't want a man, she just want fuck. She don't want a man, she just want fuck. He tell her balance the checkbook, I tell her roll the weed up. She don't want a man, she just want fuck. He tell her to drop the kids off, I tell her pick my homies up. She don't want a man, she just want fuck.
What's up, fellas? It's your boy. And there's a percentage of you all. There's a percentage of you all that Uncle Alan Roger Currie, as at least a handful of you all refer to me as Unc, or Uncle Alan. I'm proud of y'all. Proud of y'all. Because if you remember, when I first got on YouTube in April of 2017, almost 2 years ago, one of my early videos, I think it might have been after that infamous video, the one, the myth of the prudish and monogamy-oriented good girl. I'm not 100% sure. It was either that video or one of my other videos where I said, here would be my assessment of how people are going to react to a lot of my videos. I said, for every 10 people who watch my video, you're going to have about 4 or 5 people, guys, who are going to say, I don't get it. You know, they're going to be like, basically like, what this nigga talking about? I don't get nothing he talking about. I don't get it. To me, he just, talking shit. Then I said there's going to be probably another 4 that's going to be like, okay, what Alan Roger Currie is saying is interesting. Interesting food for thought. Interesting food for thought. Something for me to marinate on for the next few hours, few days, even few weeks. And then I said there's always going to be one or two guys who listen to certain videos of mine, depending on what the topic is, and they're going to have what I call an epiphany moment. Light bulb on the head, epiphany moment. I always like to explain terms, assuming that 1 or 2% of people listening to me don't know what an epiphany, for maybe real young guys listening to me, is when you have a moment of clarity about some new information and wisdom that has been shared with you. It causes you to connect dots. It causes you to connect dots. Like, say somebody gave you information piece number 1, and then they gave you information piece number 2. Then they gave you information piece number 3. And initially, you looked at those as 3 separate concepts. Information piece number 1, information piece number 2, and information piece number 3. And then you might watch a video of mine, and then you say, holy shit. Now I see why those 3 pieces are not 3 separate pieces of information and knowledge and wisdom and insight, but they're interconnected. They're interconnected. That leads to, like the last time I did a video where I joked about an epiphany moment, if you remember, was my video called blue pill versus red pill versus purple pill versus black pill. And towards the end of the video, I was explaining some things, and I included my analogy from my book, The Beta Male Revolution, about the 10 men and the 10 women on the island. And after I explained it, I said, some of you are having an epiphany right now because y'all just understanding why men decided to become pimps. And sure enough, I did have some guys write me and say just that. They said, Alan, I never really understood pimping, the concept of pimping, until I was listening to you on that one video. So, my last video. Now, here's what was interesting about my last video. Video podcast, I number a lot of my YouTube videos. So that was by numbers, that in sequence, that was video podcast 158. So this would be video podcast 159 I'm doing right now. Here's what was interesting. Video podcast 158 was supposed to simply be a follow-up to provide follow-up commentary. The video podcast 157, but it ended up leaving a more indelible impression and a more powerful impact on a lot of my listeners and viewers than the video I was doing a follow-up for, which would have been video 157. And to put it in movie terms, it's almost like if you had an original movie, then you did a sequel, and the sequel ends up being more popular than the original movie you did. That's happened with a few movies. I'm trying to think. I can't think off the top of my... Well, I know one. Godfather Part 2 got just as much, if not more, critical acclaim than the original Godfather. There have been a few movies in history where the sequel of the movie actually either, one of two things, either did better at the box office than the original, or it got more critical acclaim than the original did. But anyway, yeah, video pod. Matter of fact, not that this is a big achievement, just getting a lot of people to comment on your videos, but my last video, video podcast 158, which is called Most Men Cannot Handle the Women's True Sexual Nature. To date, that is my second most commented on video podcast I've ever done, starting with April of 2017. It's the second most, I would say within the next week, no later than the next 2 weeks, it'll probably end up being the most commented on. Right now it's in second place. My most commented on video is my video I did in fall of 2017 called Women Are Winning the So-Called Gender War. Women are winning the so-called gender war. That video has 648 comments and reply comments. 648 comments and reply comments. As of right now, let me check. Hold on one quick second. I'm going to check some numbers. My very last video has 616 comments and reply comments. Yeah, so that's the only two videos I've ever done that have 600 or more comments and reply comments. Third would be the video, my last video of 2018 when I called out AMS. It was called ARC Calls Out the Top 5 Contradictions of Dating Coach AMS. That has 403 comments and reply comments. So shoot, that's 200 less. But yeah, my very last video has over 600 comments and reply comments. But here was the thing I was most proud of. I still had a handful of people give me some feedback that I either at minimum just simply disagreed with, and even to a certain extent made me shake my head. But number one, probably 90 to 95% of the feedback I got on the video was very positive. Matter of fact, I had a few people, including at least one former hater or harsh critic of mine that called it my best video ever. I was like, wow. I don't know if I agree with that. I don't necessarily think it was my best. I told you guys, I like all my video podcasts. It's hard for me to put one over the other, but yeah, I had about 3 or 4 people say that though. 3 or 4 people said they feel like my very last video, they felt like it was my best video ever. Like over the last, starting with April 2017 to now. They thought it was my best video ever. So yeah, a lot of people, really responded positively to that video. But going back to the epiphany, I had a lot of guys write me. Well, I ain't gonna say a lot. I'd say at least probably maybe roughly 20 to 25 guys write me and say that my last video caused an epiphany moment for them. It caused an epiphany moment for them. I ain't gonna lie, man. It got me made me feel warm and fuzzy inside, man. I don't know if you guys, I'm a movie buff. I don't know if you guys ever saw a movie called The Karate Kid. The original, not the remake with Will Smith's son, but the original. And if you remember Daniel's son, Daniel was the main character. His name was Daniel's son. He was this guy that got bullied. And then he meets this guy named Mr. Miyagi, who's like a karate expert. And Mr. Miyagi teaches him the fundamentals of the martial arts. And then at the end of the movie, he does the infamous praying mantis move. And then how the movie closes is that Mr. Miyagi gives him that look of approval, pride and approval, like, good job, Daniel. Good job. So for those guys who had that epiphany moment, I'm going to give you the Mr. Miyagi. Yeah. Basically, here was the epiphany that guys got. Again, related to stuff being interconnected. Remember, I said that about my books. I remember I did a video last year where I said one thing people can't do, and honestly, I was particularly talking about the dating coach who I've already mentioned, because I noticed that he was trying to borrow bits and pieces of some of my books while ignoring other portions of my books. And I basically said, you can't do that. You can't do that, at least not with my first 3 books. You might be able to do that with Beta Male Revolution. But if there's at least 3 of my books that are all interconnected to one another, is Mole 1, Ooh Say It Again, and The Possibility of Sex. I would compare those, if I use an analogy, to the first 3 episodes of Star Wars. I mean, in other words, I don't see how somebody can say, I love The Empire Strikes Back, but at the same time say, I hated Star Wars. Or I don't see how you can say, I love Star Wars, but I hated Return of the Jedi. I mean, I don't see how you could do that. Honestly, I really don't. To me, same thing with the Batman trilogy, which is one of my favorite trilogies. I don't see how you could say, I love Batman Begins, but I hated The Dark Knight Rises. Or I love The Dark Knight, but I hated Batman Begins. I mean, all 3 of those movies are interconnected, man. They interconnected. It's really like one long movie broken up into 3 parts. I don't really look at the Dark Knight trilogy as 3 movies. I look at it as one long movie that's divided into 3 parts. Same with the Star Wars. Episode 4, 5, and 6. To me, I don't look at that as 3 separate movies. I look at that as one long movie divided into 3 parts. That's the same thing with my books, man. Mo 1, Ooh Say It Again, and The Possibility of Sex, man, is really like one long book divided into 3 parts. I don't look at those as 3 separate books. The only book of my 4 major books that I look at as kind of its own standalone book would be The Beta Male Revolution. If I had to put it in movie terms, I would call that the prequel. I would call that the prequel. Yeah, I would call Beta Male Revolution the prequel, Mo 1 as the original, Who Said Again as the sequel, and The Possibility of Sex as the finale. That's how I look at those 4 books. Beta Male Revolution is the prequel, Mo 1 is the original, Who Said Again is the sequel, and Possibility of Sex is the finale. And anyway, here's the epiphany that happened for a lot of guys, man. I just love shit like this. I love when guys get it. I do. I really do. Like I said, it makes me feel warm and fuzzy. I love when guys get it. But see, here's a simple deal. Without getting too long-winded, you notice I talk a lot about women's true sexual nature, which is what my last video was mainly about, women's true sexual nature. I do a lot of videos where I'm talking about the delineation between alpha males and beta males. And of course, I do multiple videos where I'm talking about direct versus indirect. Now, I find that some men tend to look at those as kind of like 3 unrelated issues. 3 unrelated issues. Some guys make the mistake of looking at those as 3 totally unrelated issues. But the reality is, man, all 3 of those issues are interconnected. They interconnected. Because see, once you truly understand the true sexual nature of women, if you're really paying attention, if you're really listening to the things I'm saying, and not just, just kind of listening to me because you're a hater or a critic, but I mean, you carefully listen to my words, which a lot of people did in my last video. First thing is you could call that the first domino. Steve Dean Williams always likes to talk about dominoes. And a lot of other people I've heard talk about, when the first domino falls, so do the others. When you understand the true sexual nature of women, then the first thing that happens is it makes you say, oh, I understand why Alan talks about alpha males versus beta males the way he does. I get it now. I get it now. Then once you get that, then the second thing you're going to get is you're going to say, oh, I get why Alan talks about direct versus indirect and why he prefers direct over indirect. I get it. I get it. Again, I had at least 20, 25 guys, they got how those 3 things, talking points, are interconnected. That they're not 3 separate talking points, but they're interconnected. Because see, here's the deal, man. I can get long-winded in detail. I'm going to try to keep things really simple. But see, if you approach society with very a naive blue pill mentality, and let's say you look at no less than 80% of women in society as being innocent, wholesome, semi-prudish, strictly monogamy-oriented good girls. Innocent, wholesome, semi-prudish, strictly monogamy-oriented good girls. Then honestly, that's when you're not really going to... 2 things. You're not really going to get why someone like myself would emphasize the delineation between alpha males and beta males. You're not going to get it. You're going to be like, okay, I don't get this alpha male, beta male shit. I don't get it. And I've had a lot of guys have that reaction. They'll be like, I don't get it. Why does Alan keep belaboring this point about alpha males versus beta males? I don't get it. Secondly, you're not going to really get the direct versus indirect discussions either. You're going to be like, okay, I don't get it. I could care less whether I'm direct or indirect. I don't get why Alan needs to go out of his way to make a point about direct versus indirect. If you look at 4 out of every 5 women in society as being good girls who have a strictly monogamous nature, you're not going to get those 2 things. You're not. I'm telling you, you're not. You're not going to really... The delineation between alpha males and beta males is not going to really resonate with you. Secondly, the emphasis on being direct instead of indirect is not going to really resonate with you. You're going to find yourself asking yourself, why is that even important? Now let's flip it. Let's flip it. Let's say on the flip side, you come to the realization that anywhere from 80 to 90% of women in society have a covert meaning not publicly acknowledged, a covert promiscuous nature to them, a promiscuous and or polyamorous nature to them. Like I saw a lot of you guys in the comment section saying, oh, so Alan, what you're basically saying is that the vast majority of women are closet sluts. Closet sluts. Now, I'm going to make a clarification. I've made this clarification before. I don't really like to call women sluts. I'm very selective on how I use that term. I'm not like most guys. A lot of guys use that term very loosely, sluts. I don't like to, here's when I use the term slut and when I don't. If you have a woman that say is supposed to be in a monogamous marriage or supposed to be in a monogamous long-term romantic relationship, and she's blatantly cheating on her husband, fiance, or long-term boyfriend behind his back, that is when I will call a woman a slut. That's a slut. That is, even in Alan Roger Currie's book, that's a slut. My number 2 variation of a slut is a woman who is single. She's not in a relationship, but she intentionally goes out of her way to have sex with multiple men who are married, who she knows are married, engaged to be married, or already have a long-term girlfriend. That's my second definition of a slut. Is a woman who's single but goes out of her way to purposely have sex with men who are married, engaged to be married, or already have a long-term girlfriend. And my third and final category of women who I will tend to more or less categorize a woman as a slut is if a woman's just fucking like just a ridiculous amount of men in a short period of time. Like say she's fucking like 50 different men in like a 6-month period. Yeah, I would call that woman a slut. So those are 3 types of women that even Alan Roger Currie will refer to as a slut. Is a woman who's supposed to be in a monogamous marriage or a monogamous long-term romantic relationship and she's blatantly cheating on her significant other behind his back. A woman who's single but goes out of her way to sleep with men who are married, engaged to be married, or already have a long-term girlfriend. And third, a woman who sleeps with just a ridiculously high number of men in a relatively short period of time. That's the 3 times I will refer to a woman as a slut. But here's at least one category of women that I don't look at as slut. Some of you guys look at any woman who indulges in casual sex or non-relationship sex, period, as a slut. I disagree with that. If no other category, that's the category I disagree with. I know a lot of guys, man, they feel like any woman who is indulged in short-term and or non-monogamous, non-relationship sex, even as few as 3, 4, 5 times, they'll call that woman a slut. That ain't a slut to me. If a woman just periodically, if she's single and she indulges in non-relationship sex with other single men, that ain't a slut to me. But a lot of you highly judgmental type motherfuckers will call that woman a slut. That is not a slut, at least not in my book. And, you can define it your own way. In Alan Roger Currie's book, that's not a slut. Yeah, I've had guys say that in my comment section. Like I've had some guys say, any woman who has sex with any man that's not a husband or fiance is a slut. Or any woman who has sex with a man that's not a husband, fiance, or long-term boyfriend is a slut. Not in my book. In your book, you can choose to define it that way. Not in my book. That ain't a slut. I already gave you my 3 definitions of a slut. Some of y'all are just way too judgmental. That's one of the one characteristics I don't like about my own gender. I tell you, there's certain characteristics I dislike about women, certain characteristics I dislike about men, and then there's some characteristics I dislike equally about both genders. I'll tell you at least 3 characteristics I don't like on either gender, male or female. People who are highly judgmental. I hate men and women who are highly judgmental. I can't stand you motherfuckers. I hate people who are a combination of self-righteous and highly judgmental. Number 2, men and women who are very sexually hypocritical. Sex, I talk about that in my book, Who Said Again. I have a whole chapter where I just go in on guys who I feel are sexually hypocritical. A simple example would be, I know a lot of men who always be trying to fuck another guy's mother, sister, daughter, niece. But the moment some other guy is trying to fuck their mother, sister, daughter, or niece, they ready to pull out a shotgun. You're a motherfucking hypocrite. And I'll tell you to your face you're a fucking hypocrite. I hate you motherfuckers. I hate you hypocritical motherfuckers. I really do. I ain't lying. With a passion. I hate you hypocritical motherfuckers. I hate dudes who are hypocritical like that, man. Or guys who are rampantly cheating on their wife or girlfriend, but the moment their girlfriend or wife cheats on them even one time, they ready to beat the shit out of her. That's a sexual hypocrite, man. I hate sexual hypocrites. Again, both genders, not just men. I hate women who are sexually hypocritical. Even though I feel more men are sexually hypocritical than most women are. And then the third and final category of my own gender I don't like, as everybody knows this one, is simply liars and manipulators. And I don't like women who are liars and manipulators, and I don't like men who are liars and manipulators. I hate both of you motherfuckers. I really do, man. And I don't use the word hate lightly. I hate you guys. I don't just casually dislike you motherfuckers. I hate you guys. That's real talk. I hate liars and manipulators. I mentioned in my comment section, I was responding to somebody, I said, one of the reasons why certain women gravitate towards pimps. Pimps are very non-judgmental. See, pimps don't judge women for their true sexual nature. They found a way to profit off that shit, which is smart on their part. Instead of passing judgment on women's true sexual nature, they found a way to profit from it. I hate judgmental guys, dude. Hate judgmental motherfuckers. But, see, now I lost my train of thought. I was talking about the epiphany. Oh, I was talking about how, wait a minute. I need a drink. Hold up a second. So yeah, I was saying that, to recap real quick, if you're a man that looks at the vast majority of women as being good girls, I know how it started. I used the term closet sluts. That's where I lost my place. Yeah, I was saying that if you're a guy that looks at, say, 80 to 90% of women in society as being innocent, wholesome, semi-prudish, strictly monogamy-oriented good girls, then that's whenever you hear me talk about the delineation between alpha males and beta males, it ain't going to really resonate with you. And when you hear me talking about direct versus indirect, it ain't going to really resonate with you. But on the flip side, once you realize that a large percentage of women have a covert, promiscuous and or polyamorous nature about them, and even more specifically, a very sexually duplicitous and unfaithful and adulterous nature about them, things change, don't they? Things change, don't they? First thing you realize why I talk about alpha males versus beta males. That's the first thing you realize. You realize why I talk about alpha males versus beta males so much. Without getting into a lengthy discussion, here's a simple reason why you're going to realize why the delineation between alpha males and beta males is going to resonate with you. Is because you're going to realize that a lot of women don't want the alpha male or the beta male, but they want both. They want both. And you've heard me say that before. Women want the beta male for one of two reasons, if not both. They want the beta male for his non-sexual attention and companionship, as well as or for access to his financial resources and material possessions. That's why women want the beta male, to be flattered, to be entertained, for non-financial favors and to have you as an empathetic, what I call an emotionally empathetic listening ear. In simple terms, they want to take full advantage of your non-sexual time, attention, and companionship. And in some cases, also, they want access to your financial resources and material possessions. Then they want the alpha male for simply sexual enjoyment and satisfaction. Kinky sex. They want to be dominated. And they want to be fucked real good. That's where the alpha male comes in. Alpha male, sexual companionship. Beta male, non-sexual companionship in real simplistic, overly simplistic terms. So that's the first thing you realize once you understand women's true sexual nature. Second thing you understand is why I promote direct way more than indirect. Because see, if you approach life like just about all women are good girls, that's when you ain't going to see no problem with indirect. You're not. You're not going to see any problem with being indirect if you look at most women as being good girls. You're not going to, that's when you're going to be like, what's wrong with being indirect? But see, if you look at women, realize women's true sexual nature, and you know that, to use your terms, again, I don't really like to use that word too loosely, slut, but let's go with your terms that I saw in my comment section, closet slut. Let's say you do come to the realization that no less than 80% of women in society are closet sluts. That's when you're going to slowly but surely realize, well, why the fuck am I being indirect then? In other words, to put it in simple terms, you're going to ask yourself, why am I taking a woman out on 3 dates in an attempt to get the pussy when I know she probably fucked another motherfucker that she just met without going on even 1 date? I mean, seriously. I mean, I know I felt that way when I was young. That's what got me away from indirect. My attitude was, why do I want to go out on 3 dates with a woman just to get some pussy when I know that there's a greater than 50% chance that another motherfucker got that pussy like within 20 to 30 minutes after he met her, like I have. Man, I've met women at say 10 o'clock p.m. and was fucking them by 10:25. I met women at 8 o'clock p.m. and by 9 o'clock or 9:30, we was fucking without going on any date. Why the fuck am I going on 3 dates with a woman when I confidently feel like I could fuck a woman without going on even 1 date with her? I've told you guys, I've actually never have gone on a date. I've never gone on a date with a woman for casual sex. The only women I've ever gone on dates with in my life were women that I looked at as being long-term girlfriend material. Somebody I was going to deal with long-term. If not long-term monogamous, at minimum long-term non-monogamous. But any woman that I knew from the get-go that I only wanted short-term sex with, like sex for a few days, a few weeks, 2 to 3 months, I ain't going on no date with them. I didn't go out on even 1 date with them. My normal routine for most women was meet them and either fuck them that same day I met them, or if I didn't fuck them the same day, I'd meet them, exchange phone numbers, have phone sex with them once or twice, then meet them, meet up with them, fuck them, and then, have that play out however it plays out. Think about this. I always like to use the hotel room scenario. Think about if I put you in a room with 10 women and I told you that 9 of the 10 women in the room were only willing to have sex with you within the context of a long-term, emotionally profound, strictly monogamous relationship. And even a few of them were only willing to have sex with you if you're their fiance or husband. And I said there's maybe 1 woman in the room that you might be able to persuade to have casual sex. Okay? Think about how, first, just think for a few seconds how you would interact with those women in that room. Think about it. Let's say in room number 1, there was 3 women in that room that were only willing to have sex with you if you were their fiance and or their husband. 6 women in the room that were only willing to have sex with you if you were their long-term, strictly monogamous boyfriend. and one woman in the room that you could potentially persuade to indulge in casual sex. Think about how you would interact with those women. 90 to 99% chance, that's when you're going to lean towards being indirect. 90 to 99% chance, that's when you're going to lean towards being indirect with those women. You ain't going to see nothing wrong with being indirect with those women. Now, let's say I take you to a different room. A different room. And I tell you that 3 of the women in this room were willing to have a one-night stand with you. 6 of the women were willing to engage in non-relationship sex with you for a minimum of a week and as long as 3 months. Casual sex with you for a minimum of a week and as long as 3 months. And one woman in there was a good girl. She was only willing to have sex with you if you were a husband or fiance. How would you interact with the women in room number 2? Think about it. Marinate on that. How would you interact with the women in room number 2 versus room number 1? I would almost guarantee you that 90 to 99% chance, 90 to 99% chance, you're going to be more direct with the women in room number 2. You're going to be more direct. If you knew for a fact that 90% of the women in room number 2, damn, what's with the notifications? Come on. If you knew for a fact that the women in room number 2 were women who were willing to have sex with you as quickly as the same day you talked to them, the same day you met them, and at minimum, they were definitely willing to have sex with you outside the context of a long-term boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, I can almost guarantee you're not going to be too enthusiastic about being indirect because you're going to feel like, what's the point? You're going to feel like, what's the point? I mean, you can still probably get laid with most of those women by being indirect, but you're going to feel like, why invest more time than I have to? Why invest more money than I have to? Like I always say, man, it ain't that indirect can't get you laid. You can get laid being indirect. I've said that multiple times. You can get laid being indirect. The main problem with indirect is 2 things. If you do get laid being indirect, you're going to usually invest much more time and or money than you will being direct. And number 2, if you're dealing with a woman who's a manipulative time waster, you're going to set yourself up to get played. You're going to set yourself up to get played when you're indirect. When you're direct, man, you get the pussy quickly without investing hardly any time or money. And you immediately are going to be able to identify and weed out all of the manipulative time wasters and disingenuous flirts. Get it? Got it? Good. They're all interconnected. Women's true sexual nature is the starting point. To understand that, then from there, you're going to understand why women react and respond differently to alpha males versus beta males. And then from there, you're going to understand why it's far more beneficial to use a direct approach than an indirect approach. How you look at women affects all those things, man. Again, when you look at most women in society as being good girls, your way of thinking is going to be totally different than it is when you realize that most women have a promiscuous and polyamorous nature to them. It's going to be totally different. And I would say, honestly, if I had to add on one more thing, in worst case scenario, you're going to look at marriage totally different. You're going to look at marriage totally different. Like if you look at most women as being good girls, that's when you're going to be very enthusiastic about the idea of getting married someday soon. But when you understand women's true sexual nature, that's when you're going to find yourself saying, I don't know about that marriage thing. I don't know about that. It might be for some guys, but I don't know if that's for me. Like, I want to make it clear, I'm not anti-marriage. Like my older brother, he's been married for over 10 years. He loves marriage, loves it. I've never heard him say not one critical thing about it. Like him and his wife, they get along so well. I've never heard them argue. I'm sure they probably have their little spats here and there, but man, my brother, he loves being married. Like he wouldn't trade marriage for anything. And I got a few close friends and fraternity brothers that have been married for 15, 20, 25, 30 years. They love marriage. So there are some guys who genuinely do love marriage. I know a lot of guys, man, they're married and they love marriage. But other guys, man, I know some other guys, man, they've done nothing but cheat on their wives or get cheated on by their wives the whole marriage. One of the two, if not both. Yeah, man. So, a couple other quick things before I wrap up. Related to last video, I had some guys, man. Now, I did, like I said, 90 to 95% of my feedback was positive. I didn't have too many haterade type comments, at least not publicly. But I had a handful of guys say some stuff that was making me shake my head. Like, some guys were still trying to argue that it's only men who were biologically predisposed to be promiscuous and polyamorous, but women were not. Like, at least a few guys tried to make the argument. They said, well, Alan, because women get pregnant and they got to carry a baby for 9 months, that means that women weren't designed to be promiscuous and polyamorous. Why not? So you're saying because of the fact that they can get pregnant means that just totally wipes out their desire to be promiscuous and polyamorous? You know what's coming. You know what I'm about to give you. Insert dog face here. Man, some of y'all cannot be that naive and stupid. Please tell me you're not. Please tell me you're not that naive and stupid. That's like saying, if I had to switch it around for men, that's like saying that if you're a promiscuous man and you suffered some type of accident where you were going to be in the hospital for 6 months, then right after you get out the hospital, you're going to all of a sudden become monogamous. Does that make any sense? I mean, seriously, does that make any sense? I hope none of you think that pregnant women are immune from cheating. I hope none of you believe that shit. I hope none of you believe that shit. Because shame on you if you dude, trust me. There are women who are pregnant who have cheated on their boyfriends, fiancés, and husbands. Now, I don't think I've done that. I don't think I've ever fucked a woman who was married or in a relationship while she was pregnant. I don't think I have. But I know some friends and frat brothers who have. Yeah, I know some friends and frat brothers who fucked women who were married at the time, engaged to be married at the time, or had a boyfriend, and they were pregnant. And they were still giving up the pussy to another motherfucker. They were like either a month pregnant, 2 months pregnant, 3 months pregnant, 4 months pregnant, and they still was fucking other motherfuckers. Pregnant ain't got nothing to do with shit. What are you talking about? Are you serious? Then the second thing I had some guys say is, Alan, with all due respect to you, man, I think that women didn't really become promiscuous and polyamorous until the 1960s. Before the 1960s, all women were monogamy oriented. Insert dog face here. Man, come on, fellas. I try my best to wake y'all up. Now, again, this was only a real small percentage of feedback I was getting. So it wasn't like this was 30, 40, 50% of my feedback. It maybe made up like 5% at best of my feedback. But yeah, I had some guys that literally believe that women didn't start becoming promiscuous and polyamorous until the second wave of feminism began, and more specifically until the advent of the birth control pill came about. Now, I will say this, the birth control pill combined with condoms did to a large degree make it much easier for women to give in to their promiscuous and polyamorous nature. But if anybody is a historian, man, dude, There was sluts and whores in the Bible. In biblical days, you had women who were sluts and whores, and there wasn't no birth control pill. So how do you explain that? You had sluts and whores in biblical days. You had all kinds of sluts and whores in the 13th century, 14th century, 15th century, 16th century, 17th century, 18th century, and 19th century. You had women who were sluts and whores. I talked about the Victorian era. One of the reasons why they had the Victorian era in the 19th century in Europe was because the good girls of society felt like the whores and sluts of society weren't really, didn't deserve to be any man's wife. And so that was the main basis behind the Victorian era, is that the good girl, pretentious good girl types believed that only strictly monogamy-oriented good girls deserved to get married, and that promiscuous whores and slut types didn't deserve to get married. That was in the 19th century. That was way before the birth control pill. What are you guys talking? See, you guys need to get into your history, man. I know in high school and middle school, y'all probably, whenever y'all heard the word history, y'all probably like, oh man, fuck. I don't want to learn history. Fuck history. Shit, I tell you this. The more you get into wanting to know more about women's true nature and just the nature of intersexual dynamics between men and women, you'll find yourself becoming more interested in history. I know that happened to me. Like when I was young, honestly, before I became a book author and a dating coach, honestly, I wasn't really into history that big. I was in it to a degree, but I was more into history, before I became a book author and dating coach, I was more into history as it relates to stuff to do with race relations. But when it came to stuff to do with like dating relationships, I didn't care about history. But once I became a book author and a dating coach, oh man, I started reading all kinds of history books that I could. And paying attention to history, man, because you learn a lot, man. Because man's nature ain't really changed that much over the centuries. And so neither has women's nature. But bottom line, man, you had promiscuous and polyamorous women, man, for centuries, dude. For centuries. Again, man, strict monogamy is only roughly about 5,000 years old. The idea of strict monogamy is only about 50 centuries old. Before that, everybody was either promiscuous, polyamorous, or polygamous. Oh, and the final thing I gotta respond to, as far as negative feedback I received. I had some guys say, well, Alan, man, with all due respect, you know, you always talking about being an alpha male and you tend to refer to yourself as an alpha male, but how can you refer to yourself as an alpha male if you're willing to engage in a polyamorous or open relationship and essentially share your woman's pussy with other dudes, man? That's straight up beta, man. With all due respect. That's straight up beta, man. That's beta. The trifecta of the dog face.
Insert dog face here.
Man, some of you guys are just clueless, man. You're clueless. You are clueless. You don't know the true nature of an alpha male. If you really believe that, you don't really know the true nature of alpha male. See, guys who are true alpha males are guys, they understand the true sexual nature of women. They understand that women aren't predisposed to be strictly monogamous. So they don't even set themselves up to be disappointed by finding out that a woman has an adulterous or unfaithful nature. They don't even put themselves in that position. Case in point, pimps. You calling pimps beta males? Shit, pimps share pussy all the time. It's just like I mentioned that article that guy Rakim Saku wrote called "Only True Alpha Males Can Share Pussy." I agree with that. Beta males are the ones who don't want to share pussy, not the opposite. Dude, if you're fucking any woman you fucking that's not a virgin, you don't share that pussy. Believe that shit. If a woman if you didn't take that woman's virginity that you fucking, you shared that pussy. You might not be sharing it at this moment, but that pussy has been shared with another motherfucker. So like there's some women I fucked in my life, literally hundreds of women. There's a good percentage of women that I used to have casual sex with that are now married with children. So all the women that I used to fuck who are now married, their husbands shared that woman's pussy with me. And a lot of those women, to be cocky about it, I could still get that pussy if I wanted to. But I took myself out that game. But if I really, really wanted to, I could still get that pussy. Don't you think those men who are now married to the women I used to fuck think they own that woman's pussy? Don't you think they naively think they own it? Matter of fact, the number one time I ruffled feathers at last year's 21 convention was, I did it in my speech. There was a portion, if there was one portion of my speech where I actually got more of a positive feedback from the women in the audience, because there was a few women in the audience, probably about 10 to 15 women in the audience. If anybody's at the 21 convention, you know what I'm talking about. There was one portion of my speech where I had more women applaud than the men. And there was this one stretch where I basically had to let the guys know. I basically said, man, I said, the problem with a lot of you guys is that y'all have allowed your egos to lead you to believe that you could own pussy. I said, you don't own no woman's pussy. Only a woman owns her own pussy. Woman gonna fuck who she wants to fuck. I've said that multiple times in my videos. A woman's gonna fuck who she really wants to fuck. Believe that shit. I don't care how big the rock is you put on her ring. I don't care if you threaten to beat her ass if she cheats on you. I don't care about none of that shit. A woman's gonna fuck who she wants to fuck. Trust me on that. Trust me on that. I'll stake my life on that claim. A woman's gonna fuck who she wants to fuck. I don't care if she got the title of wife. I don't care if she got the title of fiance. I don't care if she got the title long-term girlfriend. Again, I don't care if you even threaten to beat her ass if you find out she cheating on you. She gonna fuck who she wants to fuck. If she wants to fuck me, she gonna fuck me. Believe that shit. Y'all motherfuckers are tripping talking about thinking y'all own some woman's pussy, particularly a woman who's not a virgin. Get the fuck out of here. Wake the fuck up. Final note, man. I had a great Skype consultation with a guy today. And it just shows, see, a lot of people have this, I don't know how many people might have this assumption, but I think some people assume that most of my clients are guys that are loser type guys, or exceptionally short, or exceptionally fat, or exceptionally skinny, or exceptionally nerdy, or just guys who most people would look at and say, oh, he's a loser type, or if not a loser, just an introvert type. But do you know, I have a lot of clients who are tall. So in terms of height-wise, I have a lot of clients who are tall. I have a lot of clients that in terms of their physique are athletic, are slim, lean, and athletic. In terms of looks, I have a lot of clients who are handsome. I have a lot of clients who are older. Some people think all my clients are young. I have a lot of clients who are older, in their mid-30s all the way up into their early 60s. I have a lot of clients who are highly educated. But yeah, I had a Skype conversation with a guy today, man. Dude looked like he could be an NFL linebacker. Dude was just, had a kind of big, athletic build. Physically, he would be what most guys would call alpha. Just on physical appearance, he was very alpha. Deep, resonant voice. Again, muscular build. Looked like he could have played in the NFL. And, but it was interesting listening to him. He shared a lot of things with me. And one thing I will share, since y'all don't know his name, so I'm not really violating his confidence, but I mentioned that I interviewed this dating coach named Justin Wayne back in 2014 on my Blog Talk radio show. And he had this follower who had slept with all these women, but he ended up confessing to me that it didn't leave him feeling happy. It actually left him feeling depressed. See, a lot of guys think that pussy is the number one thing that leads to happiness. A lot of guys had this attitude, as long as I get laid, I'm going to be happy. But that's not true. Because the client I had today, man, He has a girlfriend. He has a steady girlfriend, but his issue is he's been cheating on her. He's been cheating on his girlfriend, but after he came in contact with my book, Mo 1, now he wants to straightforwardly tell her that he's been cheating on her. And he basically admitted to me, man, he said, even though I've been fucking all these different women behind her back, man, he said, I don't really enjoy it. It makes me feel like a liar, like a manipulator. And you know what's coming next, what I always criticize. He said it makes, more than anything else, he said it makes me feel like a verbal coward, basically a pussy. He said it makes me feel like a verbal coward that I got to keep lying to my girlfriend that I've been fucking all these women behind her back. He said, now I understand some guys, they'll cheat on their girlfriend, fiance, wife, and it don't bother them for a second. But he said, I'm the type of guy, man, initially he said it didn't bother me. But he said, actually, honestly, he said, it didn't really bother me until I listened to your Mo 1 audiobook. He said, before I came across your material, I didn't feel guilty about cheating on my girlfriend. But he said, man, once I listened to your Mo 1 audiobook, he said, man, I got to give it to you, Alan. He said, your Mo 1 audiobook just made me feel like a pussy, man. It made me feel like a liar, a manipulator, and most importantly, it made me feel like a verbal coward, man. Just a pussy. And yeah, man, so we ended up having a good discussion, man. So I was appreciative that he was so open with me. But that's a lesson for you guys, man. If you're getting pussy by lying to women, misleading women, manipulating women, in the short run, that might seem beneficial to you. But I can almost guarantee you that there's a 90 to 99% chance in the long run, it's going to leave you feeling kind of fucked up. If nothing else, you're going to feel like a pussy. You ain't going to feel like no alpha male. Because alpha males don't have to lie. I say that all the time. A true alpha male never has to lie to women to get pussy. If you're a true alpha man, you ain't got a lot of women to get pussy. I ain't never had to lie to no woman to get pussy, ever. So, man, just remember, I'm glad you guys realize women's true sexual nature, and it's allowed you to put everything else together and realize everything is interconnected. Men want to fuck, and women want to fuck. Believe that shit. Alan Currie. Enjoy the rest of your week.
He tell her balance the checkbook, I tell her roll the weed up. She don't want a man, she just wanna fuck. He tell her to drop the kids off, I tell her pick my homies up. She don't want a man, she just wanna fuck. Hey, she just wanna fuck. She just wanna fuck. She just wanna fuck. She don't want a man, she don't want a man, she don't want a man, she just want a man. She don't want a man, she don't want a man, she just want a She don't want a man, she just want fuck. Fuck. She don't want a man, she just want fuck.
Yes, sir.
Say it again.
Yes, sir.
Who's the king?
Alan, you're the king.
Say it again.
Alan, you're the king. You're dominating me.
Say it again.
Alan, you're dominating me right now. Mode 1.
Mode 1.
Daddy, can I go, please? You're the king.
Say it again.
Oh, you're the fucking king. Yes. Yes. Yes.
You're the king, Alan.
AKA the king of verbal seduction. You know, it's the tone of your voice, how seductive your intonations are, the vibrations that you could just reach out over the phone lines and stroke a woman's breast just by the sound of your voice, how you could make her pussy so wet just by the sound of your voice. That's actually very hot.
So you said my show was what?
I said your show is powerful.
Oh, say it again.
Your show is powerful.
I bet the king would fuck me really good.
Oh, yeah. Who's the king?
Alan Roger Currie. Alan Roger Currie, the king.
The king.
The king.